Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two on a series of support sessions to help you complete some of the tasks on assessment one under cluster one for the Diploma of Leadership Management course. So what we're going to discuss today is about the emotional triggers template. So on assessment one, you will be requested to complete this template. So I'd like to explain to you certain aspects of the template, just so when you're actually on it, you're able to complete it with ease. Okay, so I'm going to explain the template to you. So the task is pretty much to think about two different things. One thing is to think about a trigger that has happened at the workplace, and another trigger that has happened in your personal life, whether it be with family or friends. Now, when we talk about trigger, we're talking about situations that have occurred to you that consequently brought out emotions within you, so you felt something strong. When we talk about emotions, it's about anger, sadness, happiness, fear, frustration, confusion. So these are the ones that you could describe certain emotions that you feel when something has happened. Now, when we talk about situations, don't necessarily have to be actively involved in a situation for it to be considered a trigger. It could also mean that you're just watching it. Okay, so you can either be actively involved in the event or witnessing an event. And it brings out emotions from people. Now, we all are different. We've got different boundaries, different limits, different capabilities, and different levels of emotional intelligence. So we need to see how aware you are in terms of different triggers that bring out the worst or the strongest emotions from you. And the purpose of this is to increase your level of self-awareness. If you remember, if you go through the learner guide or the learner resource that you've been given, on page 12, it mentions things about self-awareness and self-regulation. Okay? So to be able to develop really good emotional intelligence, you need to have a high level of self-awareness and a high level of self-regulation. You're able to control and manage your emotions. So now, on this template, if you can have a look at it, when we describe consequences, you can use certain words to describe that consequences, okay, which is down here, and you can see that, for the impact to you, or the impact to what's around you, what you've observed that's happened because of that event. So to be very precise, I'll give you an example of a trigger. So a trigger could possibly be a change in a procedure that you have been following for years. And all of a sudden something changes and you're now having to feel something because you've got to learn something new. Okay. And that could happen at the workplace. There could be a change in the procedure that you weren't aware of, and all of a sudden there's this announcement. So how would you describe the trigger situation on this column here? You then say the trigger situation is a change on a process or a procedure of something that I have been used to following since I started with Sonic Health Plus. Okay. So you then briefly just mentioned what that situation is. So that situation is there was a change on procedure, okay? Or another example for a trigger situation would be having to deal with an aggressive customer is another situation, or making a mistake. You've discovered that you've just made an error one of the appointment bookings. So these are different situations, and just choose one that affects you. Okay, As long as you're comfortable, there's no need for mentioning names of other people who are involved. Just so we can protect people's privacy and confidentiality. It's just about naming a particular situation, really describing it a bit, enough for me to be able to understand what the event is. Consequences. When you fill out the consequences, think about these bullet points here. Okay, so think about what that situation made you feel. So that's the emotional state. How did it impact, or what was the consequence of that event to your emotional state? So you can write one here. You can also describe what your physical state was. Start having, sweating, or starting to feel warm, or pulses, your heartbeats racing, or whatever it is. So you describe it there. Or you can also include here on the third bit here, you can describe about what you were thinking or your thoughts, right? Or it could be what your action was. You started to leave or walk away or run away. So you just put 3 different consequences here. And you can use this information here on the top to say, okay, what was my emotional state there? Did it impact me? What was my physical state? And start remembering. Did I just scoot out? So you kind of put 3 here. And then let's talk about emotional strength and emotional weakness. As I mentioned a while ago, on your learner guide, there are 2 types of categories that we need to have a look at to be able to develop our emotional intelligence. And it's about self-regulation and self-management. So when you describe your emotional strength, you talk about how good you were at, how aware you were about your own feelings, about that emotional state, the change of emotional state, or how not aware you were. So say your strength could be, I was very aware about how I was feeling, and I started to make, some breathing exercises while I was there, or I put some strategies in because I was aware. Your emotional weakness could be the same. It could be I was not aware. It could be something else. It could be I was aware of my emotions, but I couldn't seem to control it. So that's an emotional weakness. You can't control it. So you check on that. Now we go to the next one, which is the physical state. Okay, your emotional strength was I was able to keep in or reduce how it was my physical state was showing out to other people. So I was taking some strategies like drinking water or breathing or fanning myself. So you automatically make certain adjustments and implement some strategies to try to control what was happening. So that could be a strength. Your weakness could be, it didn't even occur to you that you were that was happening to you until someone told you about that. Someone said, all right, you seem to be sweating. What's wrong with you? Or your face is red, So that could be a weakness because your level of self-awareness isn't where it should be. And then another example would be your thoughts. So you would have thought on the consequences, you thought, oh, what a loser, or here I am again failing on this. So you would have that thought, which is a consequence of what's happened in the event. Or you will be losing my job, or things like that. Or you could judge somebody immediately, And your emotional strength could be, I was able to, though I had that thought, I challenged that thought. And I asked more questions to clarify what I thought it was and turn it around. So you challenge your thought. That's an emotional strength because you were able to manage it. An emotional weakness would be, I wasn't even aware that I was thinking that until I said it. And someone told me about what I said. And I said, I didn't think that. So I wasn't even aware of my own thoughts. Okay. Or I express my thoughts even without managing it first, without challenging it first or reflecting on it first. So you're quite impulsive in sharing your thoughts to other people. So those are examples. Once again, a trigger is a situation that you've witnessed or you experience yourself at work or at home or with your friends. Consequence is how it impacted your emotional state, your physical state, how you were with others and what you were behaving, what you were doing, and what your thoughts were like. Okay, so how it impacted you. Emotional strength is about how well you manage that particular consequence, or if you needed to do a little bit more, do something differently, if you were to go back to that situation. It's also your level of awareness about that sort of impact to you, that change on you emotionally, physically, your thoughts. So how aware were you? That could be a strength and that could be a weakness, depending on how you were then. So you do that again on your, give an example for a situation at home and do the same thing again. So every consequence has, obviously you will be asked to reflect on your emotional intelligence and how you dealt with it. You know. Okay, so you do need a lot more. If you need more support or information from me, as I said before, email me, call me. I will be here to support you to complete this template or any other questions you might have of the assessment. So good luck. I hope you'll enjoy it. It actually develops a healthy sense of self-awareness, and it makes you reflect, which is very good skill in terms of leadership and management. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video.